go ahead and get started so we can have this conversation. All right. So tonight we are going to be talking about holiday survival strategies for blended families so you don't
burn the house down.
Yes, so you do not burn the house down. So last time we helped you to prepare for Thanksgiving. Hopefully that was a help to you, especially if you're a blended family. Because there's all kinds of challenges that face blended families that the typical family does not have to worry about. But in today's times, so many of us are blended families, then we need our strategies because Satan will try to come in and burn the house down.
Yes.
All right. So as we get into this thing, hopefully you had some good tips for Thanksgiving and that turned out to be a great event for you because, again, we had a wonderful one. But let's go ahead and start talking and preparing you for Christmas. All right. So ready?
Ready.
All right. Let's do it. Okay. So the first thing I want to definitely talk about, and we touched on this a little bit when we talked about Thanksgiving, is that you definitely want to have create your own new traditions.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, because again, Christmas is so dear to everybody. And when kids are coming up and they remember all the things they did with their biological family, and then suddenly they're in this new family, they want to keep the old stuff. They don't want to come in and try to do anything new. So it's important so that nobody really has to stick with the same kinds of things. You have a new one for your brand new family. It's important that you establish new traditions. So we'll talk a little bit about some of those new traditions that we started.
Matter of fact, we even keep the tradition that we started. We even do it to this day.
We do?
Yeah.
What?
The brunch.
Okay. Look, you're trying to jump ahead. You're not even going with the schedule.
That's right.
All right, here we go. All right, so that's first of all, let's talk about schedules. So the typical visitation rule says that if a child is with one parent on Thanksgiving, the other one gets Christmas, there's all kinds of stuff that's usually written in a divorce decree about visitation. So knowing that, and something that we learned over the years was that, kids love waking up in the place where they live on Christmas Day. That just seems so important. And so we often would, we'd be willing to work with the biological parent as far as setting up our activities for Christmas Day. So again, one that you mentioned was the fact that because let's say the other parent had wanted them most of the day. Okay. Then what we started doing was what?
We started doing a brunch.
Right. We started doing a brunch so that our kids could spend that time with us, whether it's mid-morning, sometimes the brunch might not start till 2. And again, it was based on where they were at on Christmas morning as to how we did this. But again, we started doing a brunch so that after that, they could go wherever they needed to, or it was going to be late enough to where if they needed to be somewhere else in the morning, then we would have them all at the same time. And I think that really made a difference. And we keep that tradition to this day.
Right.
So, yeah, we have brunch, maybe around, 12, 1, 2, I don't even know anymore.
But I think the key thing is that we have it, and something that you stated too, even with the brunch, it gives the child the opportunity to be in both places. And I think they appreciate that. And if you do it right and plan it right, it's really a manageable thing, and it takes a lot of stress out of the holidays.
Right. And take the selfishness out as a parent.
Absolutely.
Think about the child, because the child wants to be, they want to be with both of you, but obviously they can't do that at the same time. But work with the other parent to figure out that schedule so that they get a chance to spend enough time with both parents. Okay. And again, the visitation schedule says that you don't even have to share the child on Christmas. Okay. But we suggest that you work with the other parents so that the child can see both of you on Christmas Day. So, so before we got married, and there's a certain amount of what I would call Christmas guilt that happens when you are first divorced. There's a certain amount of Christmas guilt that whether you go out and spend way too much money trying to make sure that the kid has a perfect Christmas Day, whether you go out and spend a bunch of money, or whether you you start just doing strange things just to try to appease children for the holidays. So I remember when me and my ex first broke up, something that we did as a tradition up until the time that we got married was that we both of us wanted to be with them when they opened their gifts. So way again before we got married, what I would do is if it was his visitation for Christmas, is I would go over there first thing in the morning. So when the kids woke up, both of us would be there, and then they could open their presents together. And you did something. You followed my model a little bit on that.
Yeah,
for
a little
second.
bit, and I think it's key. You all had a wonderful deal. I mean, you set up a really good deal, and that really didn't always happen, unfortunately for me. But I think after we got married and started doing our new tradition, it really worked out. So I'm grateful for the model that you started. You had a little bit experience with that, and I got caught in all of the trappings of
Yeah. But again, the key is put your own feelings aside.
right.
All right. It's a day, right? But to a kid, to your child, it holds all kinds of memories. It holds excitement. And the last thing you want to do is put your feelings and stuff in the way. So do what you have to do, especially when it comes to working with the other parent, and be willing to compromise sometimes. Again, it's a day. Okay.
Right. Again, be willing to compromise.
Yes. All right. So another thing that was really challenging especially when we got married, was gifts.
Yeah.
All right. Because having only 2 children, I just could just establish my budget, and I could spend all kinds of amounts on my kids.
Yeah.
Whereas with you,
I had a lot of kids.
yeah,
So.
you had a litter of kids, and so your
right.
If, let's say
it's a little bit different, right?
Yeah, even if you established a $150 budget for each kid in your household, that was going to be outrageous, right?
Right.
The price keeps going up, and
especially with the gifts, and as the price went up on gifting.
Exactly. And so the first thing you have to do is establish a budget.
Yeah.
You have to establish a budget as your new family, what you all are going to spend. And again, this is part of that new tradition too, because again, maybe now I wasn't going to spend, $150, $200 per child once we became a different family. So one of the things that was, that I had to catch myself doing too, was especially when I had that divorce guilt kind of thing, is I wanted to spend, just give them the Christmas of their dreams, right? So I would spend, a lot more money, maybe buy stuff that I maybe didn't spend. And in some kind of ways, I think I might have been trying to compete with the other parent to have a better Christmas.
Yeah, and I think as a father, and please listen to this advice, because as a father, I think I got caught in that several times, because when you go through the emotional guilt that you have, you do want that Christmas to be great. So then what happens, you just have the Brinks truck come up, and then you're spending all of this money, and then you're going to have some after effects of that. And it really doesn't matter on that, but do not open up the checkbook or the credit card and go and do that extravagant spending, because in the long run, it's not going to benefit. It's not going to benefit you financially. It's not going to benefit the relationship with your children.
Exactly. And have that conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. Because what I used to do, and I was kind of anal about this, I used to tell the kids exactly what the budget was, and they had to have their list all laid out, and not spending over the amount that I had said.
Your kids were very disciplined in that, and mine being a large family, and let me just take a minute there. I remember one Christmas we had in not us, but in a previous marriage. It was the worst Christmas I had. I was in sales and in insurance sales. My commissions didn't come through. It was the worst Christmas I had, but I was thankful that I had some friends that helped us out. But I vowed then that I was gonna never ever have another Christmas like that, ever. And I went out, and I mean, we spent to high heaven.
It's crazy.
And yeah, so you can easily get caught up in that, especially when you go through divorce. You can easily get caught up in wanting to what we call that Disneyland dad
become
type of a
Disneyland dad or
situation.
mom,
Right.
and add so much money to it, and then January gets here and you're broke,
then you're mad.
right? Right. So again, first of all, do not compete with the other parent. In fact, it doesn't hurt to plan with the biological parent.
Right.
So again, I would decide, or I would ask the kids to give me a list, and then I would share it with their father and say, hey, this is what I think we should go together sometime and purchase the gifts for our children. Again, so that we wouldn't find ourselves competing with one another. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but at least we didn't go overboard.
Right.
And we tried to work that thing out together. Okay. So don't compete with the others. Establish a budget. Please establish a budget. And then even this was really interesting too, because when we became a blended family, we wanted our kids to kind of be cohesive when it came to Christmas as well.
Yeah.
So before, maybe my daughter only had to buy a present for her brother, but now she has 6 other siblings that she, we wanted them to come together as a family and purchase each other gifts. So, again, this is when they were little. They weren't working or whatever. So here's something that we did that I think it really kind of established a pathway for how we do things now.
Right.
So what we would do is we would establish that we were going to give each kid, I don't know, what, $10. And then they could go to the dollar store and they had to pick out something for everybody. Okay?
Now, put a pin there.
Put a pin there because there's no dollar store.
Right. Now, listen to this. $10. I already know some people out there saying, $10? What can $10 buy?
Right. But back in the day when a dollar store was a dollar store, right? Then they had to be creative and find something at the dollar store for their siblings and their step siblings. And so we give them the money and we let them go shopping, and then they would come back and they would come out with some really, really neat things.
Right.
And so now they've taken that one step forward, because when we come together on Christmas, each one buys for everybody.
Right.
And they always give some of the neatest gifts that they're not very expensive or whatever.
Thoughtful.
But they're neat gifts. Like the time Jackie came in with a clothes basket for everybody.
Yeah.
It had toilet paper. It had it had a pillow for everybody. It was just the neatest little thing. So again, they are very thoughtful of one another. And to this day, when we have Christmas Day, when we exchange gifts, then each one of our kids are buying for the others. And I think that makes a difference. You're not trying to break the bank, but you're trying to establish that we are a family now. Right. And that was one of the new traditions. You want to add?
I want to add another dimension to this, because in a blended family, when you're, especially at the time of Christmas, here's something else that you have to be on guard. You cannot compete. Don't have the children competing. I'm looking to see what the biological child got, what my stepmom and my dad got them, and then I only got this, because that will create inter-competitiveness, and it's not about that. So you do have to make sure that you have that on your mind and be intentional to offset that, because that's an area that you will burn the house down. Trust me, if you do not put intentional thought in it.
Yeah, and again, definitely put thought into the gifts. And again, we're getting to a point now. We're not going to be spending a whole bunch of money on kids stuff, right? They're grown.
Right.
We're going to bless them, and we're going to do something. We're going to get them something, but we're not going. It's about being together and just enjoying one another versus what am I going to get? I can't wait till Christmas to see what I'm going to get.
Right.
So I think it's very important that you make sure you have this conversation. It's not about, well, let me share something.
Yeah.
I remember the year that, oftentimes children who are in, children of divorced parents, oftentimes they get 2 Christmases, right? They get one at one house and one at the other. And I never forget that, one of my daughter's good friends said, well, I don't want my parents to get divorced because I want 2 Christmases, right? And so it's like, what?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to glorify that. But again, you make the best of it, okay? And so I think because our daughter was excited because she got to open up gifts twice.
Right.
That this came off as something great and wonderful. But it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing about that, I was gonna. Oh, here's something that's very important, and especially if you are newly divorced. This is very important.
Mm-hmm.
As the biological parent, you are responsible for making sure your children get something for the other parent.
Mm-hmm.
That's your job. Okay. Because again, children do not have money, right? And so we want the child to give the other parent something for Christmas. So you make sure that happens. Okay. Don't leave the child feeling guilty about I want to get something from mom, but I don't have any money and I'm afraid to ask dad because
Right.
they're not together
Right.
anymore.
Right.
You take the initiative and say, have you found your mother a gift yet? Or let's go shopping and get your mother something. Right?
Yeah, and you get a lot of mileage out of that in the long run. It might seem very awkward when you start out, but trust me, you have to take your own personal feelings out of it and think about the child. And here's the reason why. The decisions that we make as parents, if the marriage didn't work out, the children are collateral damage.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen couples or families that have been really, really messed up because they got a divorce. And what we try to do is to help you minimize that. And your kids will thank you as they get older because you were able to work that out. So please keep that in mind.
Yes, definitely. And again, always, and again, this isn't the time for divisiveness
No.
around Christmas
Mm-hmm.
time, right? I remember the year that I especially after divorce, when you get divorced, a lot of times you just split everything. But there's some things you don't split. Like for instance, I ended up with all the photo albums, right? And my ex didn't have any photo albums. So one year I literally just went through the photo albums, creating him one for the kid's life so that he would have that stuff. And again, it's really not about you want to show the children that you can still work together.
Right.
Okay. And it's so important that you just don't get selfish at that time, especially around Christmas. Do not get selfish.
Right.
What do you want to add, dear?
Well, I think you said it best on that. The only other thing that I would add is be careful, whatever you're planning for Christmas for your kids, and the kids are at the other spouse's house. Don't blow yours up. It's so good that you're gonna be missing out because if you're not here, that can really happen, and that's don't do that. Don't do that. Be intentional in the timing, and don't compete with events or gifts or whatever, and you'll get a lot of mileage out
Definitely,
of that.
definitely. So, any questions out there? Because we've been talking. Yeah, we've gotten dropped a whole lot of nuggets. Hopefully, that will be helpful to anyone who's in a blended family, or especially somebody who's newly divorced. Because again, you might be in the mindset that you're angry and that it's all about you at that point. But remember, it's really about your children. You have to compromise. You have to be willing to work together. Again, even though it sounds like you couldn't do it when you were married, you have to be willing to work together in order to have children who are whole. Because again, they go through all kinds of things, and Christmas is not the time for you to be the superhero. And the super parent that outdoes the other parent, or lay down the law about you're going to do this. This is our new family, and you're going to do this. It's not that time because it's a very sensitive time for children.
Right. And again, you'll thank us later for that. I guarantee you.
And just in case you need to know a few more tips about other holidays, here's my book.
Yeah.
1 + 1 = 10, the First Lady's Survival Guide for Stepmoms. It's not just for stepmoms. I have a lot of men walking around reading a pink book.
I know it.
But it's available on Amazon. Again, 1 + 1 = 10, First Lady's Survival Guide for Stepmoms. So again, we have been talking about some of the things that you can do from a blended family perspective, especially around the holidays. And so some of these things we had to learn the hard way, but now we have it all figured out.
Let me say something that I really appreciate. Now, you all may not know this, but First Lady here, she does a wonderful job of gift wrapping. And what I always appreciated that she would color coordinate the gifts that each child would get, color coordinated. I mean, they were so pretty that when the kids came over to open the gifts, they really did. They were so careful trying to open the gifts. So she does a fabulous job. But do those little bitty things, the kids really, really appreciate it. So take time to do your very best and make this Christmas or those to come the very best they can be.
Yep, I can make a inexpensive gift look like $1
Oh
million
yeah.
bucks.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and that was important to me. I always wanted to wake
Yeah.
up Christmas morning and have a stack of gifts tied together with one bow.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, it was gonna be, you was gonna get some Christmas, you was gonna get some Christmas pajamas, maybe a toy when I was coming up. But again, I would take each thing that we got them, and again, one thing might only contain
I'm
something
doing
really
better,
small,
y'all.
and I would stack them all up. And plus, that gives me a reason to sit up and read and watch Christmas Story all night while I wrap presents.
That's her
So,
thing. She watched Christmas Story
yeah.
over and over and over and over and over. Did I say over?
Over, yeah, he said over.
Over.
That's
Yeah.
a tradition. That's
Yeah,
a tradition.
it is. Now my gift wrapping, I have to admit, it's getting better
yeah, but now,
over the years. But we don't have
yeah,
a bunch of
right. We
gifts
haven't
yet.
been doing things. Oh, when you
Cash
get
is
to
king.
let me drop this in before we get out of here. When you get to the step grandparent level,
Oh yeah.
which is where we are. We're at the step great grandparent
Right,
level,
right.
right? So make sure you start incorporating the grandkids into that tradition as
Yes.
well,
Yes.
because that makes all the difference in the world. We just want some more grandkids so we can
Right.
really do it up.
Right.
Right. All right. So let me just go through some of these comments. We have some really good comments where we did clothing item, educational gift, and a wish list item. All right.
Okay.
Reverend Barrington says that it's not a gift unless it's got a bow on it.
All right. All right.
Yes, Calvoni, it is a biological parent's responsibility, especially as children are young, and even as they get older. It doesn't hurt to say, "Have you all taken care of your mother's gift or your father's gift?" I'd never forget the time that it was Christmas and my daughter called you and said, "Can you take me to the store to get mom's gift?"
Absolutely.
And I thought that was really neat because she started working with you trying to get that.
Yeah.
So again, Calvonia talked about she had a Disneyland dad. Hey, Reverend Dr. Delbert Pope, we still eating that cake.
Yeah, boy. Matter of fact, I'm gonna save some of this coffee.
We're gonna have some tonight. My good friend from West Virginia sent a cake all the way to Kansas. That's what I'm talking about.
And it's the bomb.
It is the bomb.
Yes.
Yes, but any questions from anybody? Again, feel free to get my book, which is out on Amazon, or send me a note, info@janicesrlove.com, and I can send you an autograph copy. How's that?
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, they would love that.
All right, so I think we've covered everything. You got anything you want to add?
No, I think that's about it. We could go on and on and on, especially about this particular topic. But again, set their strategies. Brunch is the way to go. That way they can come over, eat.
But for you, it might be the dinner.
It could be whatever works for the family.
Works for you. But somebody said, yes, it becomes even more complicated when the kids get married and there are more parents in the mix.